Hello my friends, always catching me fresh-faced, but hopefully by the end of this video when I stitch it all together, there is going to be a serious glow-up happening. In the DPL Atelier right now, which is our affordable fashion membership, we are working through a sundress framework. So lightweight, casual, something, you know, perfect for the summer. And I have a wedding coming up, not my own, don't worry about that, where I want to make something. I want to make something to wear. I've got some amazing textiles in my stash that I want to dig through and actually get using and actually do some selfish freaking sewing. So, as I've just started draping a design and thought, why am I not filming this? It happens all the time. The moment I finally get creative on selfish projects, I then forget to share it with you guys. So, I'm just draping this design. If it's gonna be successful, if it comes out successful, I'm gonna have it as my sundress sewing pattern. So I'm gonna launch it for you guys. But let me show you what we've got so far. You've just caught me halfway through thread marking it. So this is obviously just the first drape that I'm doing, but we've got some really nice pleated detail to the back. Coming round here, this is Mary and she is absolutely padded out to my measurements. I have a really wide apex to apex. I think mine's about 21 centimeters, which is quite broad. Your standard is about 18. So we've definitely got some centimeterage there. And I'm just pinching out a little bit by here because I'm going to turn this into almost like a princess seam. So there should be some really nice style lines happening here. And yeah, I just thought I'd document the process. So while I continue with her, I'll put a hyperlapse on because I'm about to play my music that is going to be copyrighted, and we'll crack on with it. But let me just move her in. How sporadic this video might be. I am on day 2. I've never really filmed an entire like process of me making something before, and so what tends to happen is I get into like deep work and then I'm like, oh crap, I've not actually documented this. I've been enjoying what I'm doing too much. But yesterday, I'm just sorting my pins out, top tip. So I'm gonna put ballpoint pins on this pin cushion and I'm just gonna put like steel tip pins on this one, which is really useful when you're draping and you need a flat surface on your stand rather than pinning in with ballpoint and then putting fabric over it can make it bumpy and have discrepancies. So I'm just going through, tipping some of these out onto my table, and I'm just kind of pinning them into the appropriate pin cushions, being very careful not to stab my wrist. But as I was saying, yesterday I got into like a state of deep work. I was draping on the stand, I was kind of having fun with it, sharing a few bits and bobs over on my Instagram. I'll try and insert them here or here. And just kind of playing around with the bodice. So the princess seam in particular, I didn't true that out enough. That's kind of the first thing that I amended. So I've got the, I need to sneeze. Ow. Ow. Oh, I've got, ow. A bad back, so tensing really hurts. But if you have a look here, I've just drawn on the toile where I want to kind of true out this princess seam. So it kind of comes in at quite a sharp angle. Let me move that in. Kind of comes in at quite a sharp angle here. You might be able to see it better on the stand. And then when I toile, I really just attack it with a Sharpie and I just draw on what kind of amendments I want to make. I'm going to add in a side seam just for a bit more shaping. And so that's what I'm working on here. I've got all my pattern pieces laid out. As with any bias cut garment, I'm going to really not struggle, but it's a bit of a head scratcher in order to get the most from my fabric. It is a more wasteful version of pattern cutting, given that it goes on a 45-degree angle to the straight grain. So everything's at an angle, it takes up a lot more space on the textile. I'm working with the last of my toile fabric here, and then it might be a case of making Frankenstein looking garments that are a bit higgledy-piggledy patched work together, just to get the meterage out of the fabric and to see and test this design. And then once I'm kind of semi-okay with it, I'll probably be a bit naughty and actually make it up in final fabric, because then I can do final fitting amendments with final fabric. And then we'll see if I like the design, we'll see if I can turn that into a sewing pattern for you guys. But yeah, I just ran downstairs, which is why I'm out of breath. Thought I'd grab my camera and try and document where I'm at here. As I say, this is the first time I've really tried to document from start to finish. In terms of the design work, I kind of know, I have a name for this dress. It's going to be called the Deco Dress, and I'm taking a lot of the style lines and silhouettes and shapes from like Art Deco, so that's kind of inspiring me. But other than that, it's bias cut and I've draped it on the stand. So draping was the design element of this, and now that I'm there with some basic ideas, the back of this dress in particular I'm really excited by. Yeah, now you catch me halfway through development, and so apologies, feel free to dislike this video. I won't take it personally. This is the first time I'm going to just try and document the process, so it might just be higgledy-piggledy and stitched together. But hey, it's only up from here, isn't it? As long as the dress looks good by the end, we'll give it a go. But yeah, I've draped on the stand, I've sewn up my first bodice. I'll insert my Instagram. If you are ever interested in behind the scenes process, I'm a lot more consistent on Instagram because it's just instant, isn't it? I can just do a quick clip on my phone. I've drawn on my amendments and now you're up to date. So let's go. So I've got two skirt pieces here that I need to get out of this last bit of fabric. So we'll see how we go. I feel like I can push the boundaries on this one and maybe get some out of it. So this is where we're at the moment. I need to give this a good press, but we've got this really kind of nice style line going on down the center front of the bodice, which flares into the skirt of the dress. And then over here, I've just cut out my side pieces. I'm actually going to construct the right side of the dress first, just because I have the textiles for that. I'm going to be able to get one more side bodice cut out, and then I might have to change textile because I've run out of fabric. But yeah, I'm excited for how it's coming together. Slow and steady, and we'll take this over to the machine. So this is the last pattern piece I needed, but the latest developments are that I had to run off the selvage edge. So what I'm actually going to do is stitch my scraps and leftovers onto this, and then just have an extra seam. Given this is just a toile, that really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to have a seam line down here on this back skirt piece, but obviously when I come to do the final garment, I'll have enough fabric in order to cut out the piece as one whole thing. But this is kind of just what I do when I'm toiling, is I just kind of Frankenstein it together. For a bias cut pattern, I really actually don't have that much waste. This is it. I'm going to be putting this onto here to make the full panel, and then from the leftovers I'm going to be making spaghetti straps. So I'm pleased with where this is going so far, and I've sewn up the one side, and with a good press, and once I try it on, I'm actually really excited for where this is going. I'm obsessed with the back. So this is all like pleated, self-faced, and then it's going to have a really nice kind of V shape and flattering complementary contour to the back of the body. So very excited for this. Excited to see what this looks like once I have it on and my own body is filling it out. Another thing I'm doing that you really shouldn't do until the whole dress is complete is actually pinning it and hanging it on the stand, because this is bias cut. The fabric itself is going to change shape overnight, so another thing I'm going to do is leave this overnight and see what pattern amendments I can make, just with that kind of change in shape accounted for. But all in all, really excited where this is going, and cannot wait to share the final result. Hello friends, it is me from the future. Sorry I'm so shocking at documenting this, but I feel like with the magic of editing, I'm going to be able to piece together a few clips. One of which, before I get on to this behind me, is actually going to be inserted from an Atelier overview, which is basically a weekly live I do in the DPL Atelier fashion membership between my members and I, to give not only a quick overview of where we're at in the framework, because if you do or do not know, we work to my signature Create, Cut and Construct framework, which is a 3-month cycle where we choose a different garment style each cycle, and we work over Create month 1, which is fashion design, Cut month 2, which is pattern cutting, and Construct month 3, which is bringing it to life at the sewing machine. We are currently working on a sundress, hence this little baby over here. And I basically jumped on this Atelier overview live to give my members a rundown of where I was at with my toile, what changes I wanted to make, what amendments I wanted to make, and there's a lot of updates in there. So I'm actually going to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes tour and content in this YouTube video, and I'm going to insert that now, but I'm going to help you connect the dots on where I was then and to where I am now before I show you my rookie mistake, my rookie error. We finally started cutting out in pretty fabrics, in final fabrics to sample, and I've already made an error. So let me insert this clip and I will see you on the flip side. Look at how much can change in the space of a week. Look at who has done her sundress, huh? Look at it. And this time around, if you have read the Atelier overview email I sent out this morning, my creative process has been so different. And when I speak about, this is something I did want to come on here and speak to you about actually, my friends. When I speak about having a unique creative process that's unique to you, that does not mean it is set in stone. So even though you find strengths or you find your personal style and voice as a designer, that doesn't mean that every time you design something, you have to do it in a really regimented way. This actually started out as this. This has been designed for months, if not going on a year. So this was going to be the dress I was going to make. It was going to be called the Deco Dress, inspired by Art Deco shapes and silhouettes. I was going to do it in this kind of chevron chiffon. And I have literally toiled this up countless times, and I keep changing my mind on the bodice. The biggest reason I keep changing my mind on the bodice is I have got to bear in mind that this is going to become a sewing pattern. I have 2 peas on an ironing board for a chest, so in some respects I'm very lucky. I can get away with a handkerchief and a piece of string and there is no danger of anything popping out and offending somebody's eye. But the reality is, if I'm going to be launching a sewing pattern, I obviously need to be considerate of those that plan on wearing it. So something with a little bit more support and coverage is what I went for. But this actually started out as literally the name Deco Dress. Because I've designed that, I've decided on the name, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to have a go at draping something. I have a friend's wedding coming up this Saturday, so this was all left over from the wedding dress toile I did for her. Obviously your girl is not going to attend a wedding wearing that. The textile options I have are quite exciting though. So we've got this, which since doing my seasonal colour analysis is no longer my colour, which is a shame because the textile itself is absolutely gorgeous. But I do think I want this to be more of a skirt for my wardrobe. We've got this, which is a viscose twill with a nice kind of like spotty abstract animal print. Hi Tanya, hello, hello. Oh, something's in the way. What's the bottom thing say? Click. Does look really nice. Thank you. Big thank you for that. And I think we've got, I'm going to say this is the winner, but I don't think I'm going to wear this textile to the wedding because I've just bought a lilac stripe and I'm going to do it in a lilac stripe. And because this is cut on the bias, that's going to be really nice in a diagonal. But I think this one wins in terms of like wedding appropriate attire. So I'm going to sample up. That's my second toile, lest we not forget that Mary is padded out to the closest she can be to my measurements at the moment. So I got a couple of fitting amendments to do, but other than that, we're ready to roll, guys. And then the back of her, what I'm really proud of, I don't know if you can see this, so we've got a princess seam, ooh, coming down here. We've got like a chevron-y triangle. Wow, my words are failing me today. So I'm taking inspiration. This is all cut on the bias. Top tip, when I just spat everywhere, I'm so sorry if you saw that, how embarrassing. Top tip if you are cutting on the bias, and again, don't forget the bias means a 45-degree angle to the grain line. Don't know what my hands are doing there, but straight grain, 45-degree angle. If you are designing something and you've cut out a pattern on the bias and you've toiled it and sampled it, let it hang overnight and then make your amendments the following day. Because of the bias of the textile and the weave, if we're thinking of a straight and cross grain, the weave is like this. Remember me doing that weird thing with my fingers before, which I've just completely failed at here, but you know what I mean. The weave is like this, okay? If we turn that on the bias, what actually happens is it loosens a bit and it stretches. And so if you have designed anything and you've got that on a stand, leave it overnight hanging, because it will alter shape. So it will stretch a little bit, and once it hangs, you can then make amendments and absorb that into your pattern. So big top tip there. But I've got this kind of chevron shape here because I really did want to. I love the button skirt on this, and so I'm sure I will make this in some capacity, but I wanted to kind of take these triangular silhouettes and still apply them here, just in a more conservative, wedding appropriate kind of way. So we've got a princess seam here. I wanted this to be a cowl neck, so the changes I am going to make, this is tacked at the moment, as you can see, but it's got a little bit of drape on the stand, but then when I put it on, she's a bit more shapely than me. I'm broad-chested, but I'm not blessed in the chest department. So it just kind of goes a bit flat and there's not a lot of drape, which is why I've tacked it to have a bit of shape here. But I think I'm still going to tweak that. So even though the next one I make up, I will be moving on to more of a final fabric and start sampling it, I'm going to be making these small tweaks as I go. For anybody who cares, or who is interested, or who just wants to know how much effort goes into launching a sewing pattern, I make endless samples. Just because I've toiled this twice, I'm probably going to make another 4, 5, 6 of them in sample fabric, in like final fabric, with minor changes each time until I'm really happy with the pattern, and then I can obviously bring it to you guys. But anyway, so I just need to play around with this. We've got a spaghetti strap because, again, your girl doesn't need much support, and I just thought, I was inspired by the masterclass, to be honest, guys. When you ask me questions on certain techniques, it gets me quite inspired as well, which is lovely, because now I feel like we've both designed this, which is just really sweet. So we've got panelling down the side here, panelling to the front, with a little bit of volume incorporated into it, but not too much. And then the back, the piece de resistance, is this. I don't know if you can tell. So this here is a princess seam, and the seam line stops by here. This front panel piece, from the chevron all the way round to the back, is one whole piece, which, for those of us that are going to geek out on pattern cutting, is just a really, really nice technical element of the design that I'm really chuffed with. And this here, this line here, is a pleat, and so it's just folded. There's no seam line there. There's a seam line behind that you're not going to be able to see through the magic of engineering clothing, but this line here is just a really beautiful pleat. And again, Art Deco, these kind of triangular shapes and silhouettes. So this is going to come down Nobody judge me for how awful my zip is, though. My zip construction, shocking. I was in a rush, okay? That's all I'm going to say. And then obviously, you're going to see a few fit issues. Number one, as I say, this is as close as I could get it to my figure, but it's never going to be an accurate representation of your own body. So it looks very different when I wear it. And number two, I was in a rush, so it's puckered and just a bit of a, what's it called? Slapdash job. But another thing I'm going to do, because this is a toile, what I like to do, and I've done it in pencil, but I'll probably get a Sharpie or something, and I'll draw on it. So another thing I want to change on this is the shape of the back here. I just want to make it slightly lower. So I don't know if you can see that there, but I'll end up just drawing on a toile. I'm not precious about it at all. So I'm going to change that as well and just make that a little bit more flattering in the back. And then this back skirt piece, I'm umming and ahhing, bearing in mind being cut on the bias takes up a lot of fabric, but you might be able to just see through the textile here. That is just a marker on Mary, but I might turn this into a seam as well. But I don't know. That's open for interpretation as we move along as well. But I'm really happy with it. I'm a bit of a sucker, not for over-designing, but when I come up with like a design detail, I get very excited and I then want to do another one here, another one there. So this is when, as designers, we need to step back, we need to assess what's successful and maybe what we can put into another design so this isn't too heavy. But I think between the balance of the back and the front, I'm genuinely or generally quite happy with where this is going. I might have to do a little bit more shaping or fitting around this princess seam here. So yeah, so they're my changes. I'm quite excited for it, and it's literally materialised in the space of like 2 days. I did it over the bank holiday weekend, and I'm just really chuffed with how it's going. And that brings me on to sample number one. So I'm really starting to sample this pattern now. As I said in that video, I'm going to make small tweaks as I go because your girl gets a bit impatient with twiling and twiling and twiling. And so this is going to be sample number one. Whenever I launch a sewing pattern, I end up doing endless samples, as I said in that video. So even though I already have an issue here, it's okay because I'll be making more and it'll get better and better with time, just like a fine aging wine or whatever the saying is. That rhymed and that did, satisfying. I'm gonna let you take 5 seconds to comment down below what I've done wrong here. So these are not sewn together, and hint, it's got nothing to do with this panel missing, I just haven't cut that out yet. But can you tell me what's gone wrong? I've made a big old rookie error here. Let me know in the comments. I'll announce the answer in 3, 2, 1. So, I'm enjoying the drape on this. I've introduced a bit more of a cowl to it, as I said, so this is looking a lot more promising in terms of silhouette. But your girl has gone and buggered up on a very basic beginner issue. Print placement. Somebody has added a big black blob to my belly. Now, if there is one section of the human body you never really want to draw attention to in fashion, in terms of print placement, it's that. It is whacking something on the belly. So I am praying that I have enough fabric to cut out another bodice panel, bearing in mind this bodice panel is one long entire piece, so it's quite big. I'm going to finish cutting out the skirt panels just so that the skirt is all there, and then I'm going to pray I've got enough fabric left over for another bodice panel, and I'll just rearrange the print placement. If I do not have enough fabric, there is a style line here. I'm just simply going to introduce another style line here, and I'll cut out a small panel of fabric and just add a new seam line in. That seam line will not be in the final pattern, but it will remove the big flower that I've stupidly placed on my big belly. So yeah, is the nature of the game, you know? I thought I was doing well because I was remembering to flip the pattern pieces so that I was cutting a pair and not one of the same. And then something like that goes and rumbles me and trips me up. But it's the nature of the job sometimes. So this is where we're at. These are the last 2 skirt panels I need to cut out. and I do have a considerable amount of fabric left over. I'm trying not to show you the embarrassing state of my floor. Actually, look at that. Who am I? That's disgusting. So I actually think I'll be okay. I'm not panicking too much. The only thing that has just upset me a little bit, or like upset me, I'm so dramatic. Why am I so melodramatic? The only thing that's just grinding my gears is that I should have known better. But let me move this side. Just to have that bang smack on your belly, it's just really triggering me. And I asked a lot of people over on Instagram, and if you want to go and follow me and join the behind the scenes conversations and follow the whole process real time over at Digital Pattern Library on Instagram, please do. But I've been asking everybody if they can notice the error I've made. So far, nobody has said it, but I notice it. I notice it, and this is why I love and hate my job. I have never created a selfish sewing project that I personally am 100% happy with, because you can just pick out every single, oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I could have done that better. As I said in the Atelier overview clip, I've discovered I'm a perfectionist, and I'm on a journey of making peace with that. I need to just accept myself for who I am. But there we are, a lot's happening from the start of this video to the end of it. I've turned 30, I've buggered up, we're sampling, we're creating, and by the end of it, I am determined to have a sundress, a wearable, beautiful, bias cut sundress. Let's crack on. So I've pinned and sewn my side seams, right sides together, and then I'm just creating a 1/2 centimetre French seam. So it's quite small and delicate, really freaking satisfying when you get this done. And then that's obviously it from the right side. Really nice way of treating lightweight fabrics. So here is the other side. I have just gotten to the stage of sewing them right sides together. I'm going to trim away this seam allowance now, fold it back on itself, and sew up the French seam. Day 4, not actually quite sure. Yes, my hair is wet, I've just got out the shower, I am walking around in a sports bra. This is the reality of having a home studio in your house. That would make it a home studio, I guess. You know what I mean. I've had a delivery, fabric delivery. I envisioned this dress in a really nice soft lilac stripe. And this really bold purple delivered. That's not lilac. These are the perils of fabric shopping online, how LCD screens reflect colours differently. I also find the stripe quite pixelated in terms of print. Like, I actually think the print quality on this is quite poor. So I'm not going to be able to realise my vision, unfortunately, but I will still sample in this. I'll still make a version of the dress up in this fabric, which puts even more pressure on this behind me, because that's the only textile I've got, and the wedding is tomorrow, and it needs to fit and look quite decent. So that's what I'm going to be doing for my morning before I jump onto client work. I probably will put a top on at some point and look a bit more presentable. In my defence, it is currently 6:45 in the morning, so yeah, no stress from me. But yeah, let's crack on, let's get this dress finished. Right, so the back is gonna need a little bit of work. As I say, I need to interface it and just give it that bit of structure before I put the zip in. But I'm now gonna make some spaghetti straps. So I'm gonna cut bias strips, sew them together, turn them through, and I think I might go quite long with them, so like I can tie them in bows and they can dangle and all the good stuff. So let's crack on with that. But this is where we're at so far. Just got this really nice pleating detail that runs around the back. I may have to hand tack that, but we will see. And this is the front of her. I managed to add a cowl feature. So yeah, looking forward to what this is going to be like with the straps. Finalise the back and all good to go. Three more to go. I'm really warm after that. Shocking camera angle, but spaghetti straps done. I'm back in my sports bra because it's warm. That was a lot of work, but I'm just attaching them into the dress at my tailor tacks. So I've got marks all along my self-facing. Let me try and show you one. So I've just got a tailor tack, and so I'm just inserting my straps. I'm just snipping a small 3mm hole by these tailor tacks, inserting my straps, and then I'm sewing like a really small triangle just to sandwich them in. And that's just how I'm attaching them to the self-facing, sewing a few back tack stitches and then a small triangle just to alleviate the stress points and make sure that that really is secured into the garment. And then from the right side, it's just like this, nice and clean. So yeah, I've got 2 more left to do, and then the straps will be on, and it's just the centre back seam, the zip and the hem, and a little bit of hand sewing. Classic me, we are in a rush to leave, but it's here, guys. This is it. Yes, I have tip tape on, by the way, just so that you weren't exposed to anything then. But we're ready. We are ready to go. This is just the first fit sample, so I still have a few amendments to make. She ain't perfect, but she'll do for my friend's wedding. They're really not gonna care. I really hope that you can see it all. I've got really long ties. Whether or not this is gonna be in the final pattern, I'm not sure. I'm just being too lazy to cut them. I'm also wearing gladiator sandals with it, like really dainty heeled ones that also have ties, so I just feel like it goes. But yeah, I'm feeling quite happy with this. I think we've done okay. And we've got the really nice, beautiful pleated detail down the back. Hugs my figure, that's thanks to the bias cut. I'm really happy with it. A little bit more volume around the cowl, which your small itty bitty titty committee really appreciates. And I love the silhouette of the skirt. It just ever so slightly has a bit more volume in the back, which is perfect for boogieing on the dance floor, just below the knee, because your girl is 30 now and not 17 wearing belts out to town. But I'm happy with it. The final look. Now, let's see if this stands the test of partying the night away. I will catch you on the flip side.